Physiotherapy has undergone a remarkable transformation in recent years, with emerging trends reshaping the way rehabilitation is approached. Now, these advancements are improving patient outcomes by integrating technology, evidence based practice, and innovative treatment techniques. As healthcare continues to evolve, physiotherapists are embracing new tools and strategies that enhance mobility, reduce pain, and even accelerate recovery. This shift is not only benefiting patients but also allowing practitioners to provide more precise and effective care. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dialani. Now, the introduction of cutting edge technology and innovative methodologies has expanded the scope of physiotherapy beyond conventional practices. Traditional rehabilitation methods are now being complemented by modern approaches that leverage AI, virtual reality, and wearable devices. Let's welcome Vijay Karunakaran, CEO and founder of Rewin Health, to understand that these advancements are not only improving the accuracy of diagnosis but also ensuring that patients receive targeted and individualized rehabilitation plans tailored to their specific needs. Hi, Vijay, how are you doing?
Thank you, Priya. I'm doing fine, and thank you so much for the opportunity to come and speak to your viewers and audience and in getting my message across to the audience. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Likewise, Vijay, it's a pleasure to have you on our podcast today. And of course, we are going to touch down on a very specific and a crucial topic with regards to the role of AI in healthcare, but specifically in terms of physiotherapy and rehabilitation approaches. Of course, we are going to dive deeper into our conversation, but let's set the foundation of our today's discussion by letting our listeners understand and know more about Rewin Health. So, if you could give us a brief about the company, its specialization, it would be great.
Sure, Priya. So let me reintroduce myself. Vijay Karunakaran, founder CEO of Rewin Health. I have a undergrad from India, engineering degree. I have a master's and MBA from Duke University in the US. Ex-director Intel. So that's my quick brief. So let us talk about Rewin, its organization, and its what we are focusing on. Rewin Health is India's only full stack digital therapeutics platform for rehabilitation that combines AI, virtual reality, motion sensors, and clinical analytics to make recovery measurable, engaging, and accessible for all. So when I said only full stack, what I meant is we play across both B2B and B2C segments. Typically, if you look at any of the top companies in the world or in India, they either supply digital technology, rehab technology to the hospitals, and they play only in the B2B space, or they have clinics through which they cater to the patients. We are the only company who play in both segments. That's why I call it as a full stack digital therapeutics platform. On the B2B side, we partner with hospitals, physiotherapy centers, and healthcare networks to deliver standardized technology-enabled rehabs that improves the adherence and care quality. Our hospital network, which is our current set of customers, it includes the Miyot Hospital across all the global centers, Apollo hospitals, Manipal, NIMANS, which is the Center Institute of Mental Health, then Atulya Senior Care, At Home SEH, and PSG, and several major government hospitals. Altogether, more than 75 hospitals and clinics across India that uses Rewin solutions. Our programs and services span a wide range of needs, from neuro and stroke rehabilitation to orthopedic and musculoskeletal recovery, spinal cord injury, pain management, cardiac and pulmonary rehab, cancer rehabilitation, and geriatric mobility training. Each protocol that we have is designed using evidence-based methods validated through extensive clinical data. We are also scaling through a franchise and a retail model that empowers the physiotherapists and healthcare entrepreneurs to open Rewin clinics across India. Right now, we have 10 clinics across the state of Tamil Nadu, but we are also under a public-private partnership with the government of Tamil Nadu to establish 150 digital physiotherapy clinics across Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities of Tamil Nadu to make it India's first connected rehab grid. So, Priya, our overall mission, if we can talk about it, is to make rehabilitation scientific, personalized, and joyful recovery accessible within 5 kilometers of every patient. We are starting with Tamil Nadu, but we are expanding nationwide and also globally.
Great. Thank you for that wonderful overview, Vijay. And we're really glad to understand about Rewin Health and how it is driving innovation and shaping the rehabilitation landscape. It really sets the context for our discussion today. Moving forward, I would also love to understand more about your personal journey, Vijay. You did give a brief intro about yourself in the earlier response, but we would like to know more about your role and contribution towards the company. How has the journey been till date? And what problem did you set out to solve? And what are some of the key challenges you noticed in the traditional physiotherapy models? And what is something that kind of made you think that, okay, this is something that I really need to set out and solve this?
Priya, that's an excellent question. It sort of gives us an opportunity to explain why we exist. See, my journey with Reven is both personal and professional. So before starting this company, I had spent 17 years in the US at Intel Corporation as a director, where I served in building systems and solutions for global healthcare industry, along with other industries. So that experience gave me a very deep understanding of how technology, data, and human design, more importantly, the human design can transform care delivery, but also how uneven access remains in many parts of the world. So I worked in multiple countries, so I do understand the accessibility to quality healthcare is still a challenge. So when I returned back to India, a personal strategy became sort of my motivation. My mother passed away after a stroke surgery, and I saw in the process firsthand how fragmented and inaccessible rehabilitation was in terms of long travel distances, inconsistent therapy, no evidence of what was happening, and mainly the emotional exhaustion for families. So this experience inspired me to build the Reven. So the idea is to bridge the gap between science, empathy, and technology. And we just did not just start building it. We spent 2 years in having multiple focus groups across various communities in understanding the requirement of rehabilitation across Tamil Nadu and India. We built the POC and did two large trials to fine tune a product. After this 2.5 years of intense research and development, we launched the platform 18 months back. So my role as a founder and CEO is to ensure that every grievance solution across the multiple conditions we talked about, and also from the hospital programs to home-based care, makes rehabilitation continuous, connected, and compassionate. So we are on a mission to transform rehabilitation from just an afterthought into a guided, measurable, and motivating journey for every patient. That is our idea, and make it very inclusive. And in fact, if you look at the tagline for Rewin is to make rehabilitation affordable, accessible, and effective. All three are very, very important.
Definitely, Vijay, and thank you for sharing that. And yes, I think when you talk about rehabilitation, it is fragmented and inaccessible. Unfortunately, we really don't talk about the challenges that we face with the conventional methods of rehabilitation. And really, I'm glad to understand how your approach is trying to solve these current pain points and also redefining what modern physiotherapy can look like. And I think with your approach, wherein you want to focus on continuous, compassionate, and connected rehabilitation, I think technology, science, and innovation will play a huge role in making it more consistent and accessible.
And if I may add one more point to it, Priya.
Sure.
So I come from the state of Tamil Nadu. So we are known for healthcare expertise. But unfortunately, the hospital systems, they are extremely good in saving people. right? Saving people's life. But what happens after that, right? So depending on what condition you have post discharge, people require anywhere between a month to a year of continuous and effective rehabilitation to recover their functional independence. Otherwise, the whole disability kicks in and they don't become a productive citizens of their families, society, and the country. So we have to fix that. And that's exactly what I mean by continuum of care. Very important.
Definitely, Vijay. I think that's a really important point that you mentioned. And, building on that, when we talk about improved care, I think when you talk about physiotherapy, I think it has long been essential to healing and rehabilitation, helping millions restore their mobility, strength, and quality of life. Of course, we spoke about the traditional methods, and they often rely on manual assessments and subjective judgment, which can sometimes fall short of delivering consistently optimized outcomes. Of course, a silent shift is transforming the landscape, wherein we have artificial intelligence coming into the picture, and it is promising greater accuracy, more personalization, and greater efficiency in rehabilitation care. What are some ways, or how do you think AI and immersive technologies like VR and AR are redefining physiotherapy and rehabilitation?
Sure, Priya. So I think it was a good leeway to the discussion. See, AI and immersive technologies, which is virtual reality, are redefining the rehabilitation by making it personalized, measurable, and emotionally engaging. So I will address the AI to start with, then I'll go to the virtual reality part. See, at Rewin, AI functions more like a digital co-therapist. It tracks every movement, posture, and effort using the senses, and that's the session in real time. For example, if a patient shows fatigue or imbalance, the AI engine slows down the pace and provides some corrective feedback. But if the patient is able to a better treatment and better improvement, the engine will introduce more complex balance and or strength challenges. This continuous adjustment and intelligence makes the therapy more precise, safe, and highly effective for each individual. That is the AI part. But AI by itself doesn't do the most important thing when it comes to digital therapeutics, which is how do you make the entire rehabilitation a lot more engaging and very motivating. See, one of the challenge when it comes to rehabilitation is doing physical exercises and cognitive exercises. It's very boring. People let go after some point, and hence the adherence rate drops very, very drastically. So, due to that, they don't recover completely, or they think they recover, but they have repetitive injuries and things like that. So, VR, virtual reality, it adds that emotional dimension. Instead of doing, monotonous exercises, patients are now immersed in a real life, culturally familiar environment. For example, walking through a temple, a Shirdi temple, where they're hearing bells and chants, and they're able to do various physical activities like doing artis and take careful steps. So this spiritual connection reduces the anxiety, which is a very important part of any long-term rehabilitation. It enhances focus. At the same time, it motivates them to do a very precise, measured movement, and all things are very combined. And it brings a lot of very sustained effort in this process. So I just gave Temple as an example, but now we have built close to 100 experiences where both immersion, visual and mobility immersion is integrated with AI. And some of the experiences includes playing fantasy games. They're out in a forest where they are plucking fruits and feeding to the birds, or they are walking in a beach, or doing various fun activities. And these are not just activities and games. These are actual exercises that a therapist can control, make it very personalized. And these exercises, as I said, is either physical or cognitive or both. They are projected as games, but they are in fact exercises. And all their activities and improvements are measured, and it provides evidence to the therapist. They can plan the overall treatment. Now, as I said, every module is completely gamified through patients earning points. They can unlock levels, They can receive visual rewards for consistency and accuracy. This turned therapy into a very joyful and motivating and fun challenge rather than a medical obligation, right? So the results that we have achieved speaks for themselves. If you look at our validated clinical study, it shows that a VR-based therapy as a adherence improvement by over 80%, and the overall efficacy is more than 75% compared to a traditional physiotherapy. So what this means? This means the recovery is faster with fewer relapses, and the total healthcare cost is definitely much, much lower because the patient now is stays consistent, recovers fully, and hence avoids repeated pain or productivity loss. Because, as you know, an employee who's in pain definitely is a lot less productive compared to a pain-free employee. So, in essence, even it blends AI precision, virtual reality immersion, and a very gamified motivation that creates rehabilitation that's not only more effective, but also more affordable and emotionally very fulfilling and engaging.
Absolutely. That's truly fascinating, Vijay. And thank you for sharing those examples and the pointers that help us understand that AI and immersive technologies are, I think that they're changing the entire landscape and not just enhancing the treatment precision, but I think improving the overall patient experience as well. So, whether we are offering personalized recovery plans to virtual rehabilitation environments through gamification, just like you explained, I think the impact clearly goes beyond traditional physiotherapy methods and models. Moving ahead, when we are talking about digital therapeutics, I think from the macro level, if we see, if the digital therapeutics are not covered by commercial and government payers, the rest of the process of providing patients with the care they deserve is kind of broken. Now, if you want to continue changing the healthcare delivery ecosystem, we need every stakeholder on board, and not only just digital therapeutic developers, but we also need patient advocates, lawyers, providers, policymakers that help us understand how to bring these new technologies to market and also kind of ensure a more seamless integration. So what policy and reimbursement frameworks do you think can enable digital therapeutics to scale faster?
So, Priya, you bring in a very important point, and that's the need of the hour, which is the whole policy and reimbursement framework. So, the India's rehabilitation ecosystem, right, it faces a very massive demand-supply imbalance. In India, we currently have around zero point 0.5 physiotherapists per 10,000 people, while the WHO recommends at least one per 10,000. That means nearly half the workforce we need doesn't exist. That's point number one. Point number two, every year, more than 60 million Indians require some form of physical or neuro rehabilitation, but less than 5% receive consistent therapy. That's around 35 to 40 crore people suffering from chronic pain, post-stroke disability, or age-related movement loss. Yet, most rehabilitation centers are concentrated in large cities. In tier two and tier three towns, a single physiotherapist might serve tens of thousands. While this is about the overall ecosystem. Now, when it comes to the reimbursement, while some private insurers now cover physiotherapy under purely post hospitalization or OPD riders, coverage remains very inconsistent and rarely includes digital or even home based care. There are public schemes like Aishwan Bharat that focuses only on acute or surgical interventions, leaving rehab underfunded and undervalued, right? So I think that's something that the state and the center policymakers have to bring in a quick reform where they should bring rehabilitation part of the medical insurance, and also the place also play a huge part. And the way we could do this only if you could have a digital transformation, because the one of the challenge for the insurance to include rehabilitation, because the rehab care is very fragmented and doesn't use any digital technology. And that's where if you bring that up, I think the insurance will be a lot more motivated to cover rehabilitation part of the insurance. So this is exactly where technology and hybrid care models become essential. Priya. By blending the AI-based personalization, immersive VR therapy, and human therapist supervision, Reven's approach allows one therapist to reach more patients, ensures adherence, and delivers standardized quality anywhere, right? So to sort of sum it up, to scale this transformation, I think India needs a new policy and reimbursement framework that one defines specific codes for digital rehabilitation under both public and private insurance. Number two, they should include validated digital rehab platform within the Aishwan Bharat and state schemes. And number three, I think they should move from session-based to more outcome-based reimbursement, rewarding measurable recovery. And finally, they should create ICMR and CDSO-backed validation pathways for digital therapeutics. So if India bridges this policy gap, Priya, rehabilitation can evolve from a hospital-based privilege to a digitally powered community-wide right, ensuring access for every patient, not just those in big cities only.
Definitely, I agree with you, Vijay, and you've shared a very important perspective because I think policy and reimbursement frameworks aren't just enablers, but it's really important how you strategize it that they don't become a barrier to scale, but rather than more like empowerers, enablers for scaling digital therapeutics. And it's very interesting to see how regular clarity and structured pathways could really accelerate adoption, not just in developed markets, but also in emerging healthcare systems, and specifically in India, like you mentioned, considering the demand and supply challenge and the workforce shortage that we face currently. Having said that, I think when we are talking about digital rehabilitation, we spoke about a lot of things about how AI and immersive technologies are changing the landscape, how gamification and immersion can motivate patients to feel more emotionally and physiologically safe and taken care of. So I think with the future coming in, we will also have wearable technologies and telemedicine opening up new avenues for therapy delivery. So what's your vision for the future of digital rehabilitation, and how do you see Rewin in shaping the evolution globally?
So I am a very strong believer of the rehabilitation need to be connected, intelligent, and inclusive. And I also want to bring up a point that the technology should not replace human therapists. In fact, they should coexist, and it's more so very very important for India. So when we started our journey, we were very, very clear it's going to be a tool for Reven is going to be a platform and a tool for physiotherapists to be more precise and efficient. And this is what we call this as a human plus tech rehabilitation, where therapists and technology work hand in hand, right? So that is the overall thing that I look at. Now, coming back to the future, right? So as I said, the future has to be connected, intelligent and inclusive when it comes to rehabilitation. We envision a world where therapy doesn't end at discharge. I think that is a huge that needs to be ahead for all the patients. I think they gaining their functional independence is very, very important. They being fruitfully able to contribute to the society, the state and country is very important, to the family, of course. And hence, it follows the patient home through digital tools, wearables, and virtual sessions guided by the therapist. That's what Reven is building that future today. So our platform, we are validated through over 1 lakh therapy sessions and 12,000 patients the last 2 years. And we are expanding to more than 150 smart clinics. And we have global partnerships beyond India that will take Indian digital health innovation worldwide. So at this point, I also want to bring in that we're not just stopping with that. Very soon, we are launching Jadu, our neurofunctional learning platform designed specifically for neurodivergent children, including autism and ADHD, through which they could build emotional regulation, communication, and daily living skills through immersive virtual reality and wearable sensors. So together, Reven and Jadu can form a continuum of digital therapeutics, one addressing both physical recovery and the other more on the cognitive and emotional growth. So, in terms of our overall long-term vision, is Priya, to make India the global hub for human-centered digital therapeutics, where, as I mentioned earlier, science, empathy, and technology converge to improve how people heal, learn, and live. So ultimately, it's nothing but restoring not just movement, but confidence, connection, and dignity across every stage of life. We are a true believer of that. That is the motto and the mantra through which we drive our company forward.
Absolutely. I think with continuous advancements on the horizon, the future of digital therapeutics holds exciting possibilities for both practitioners and patients. And by embracing innovation and immersive technologies, the field will continue to evolve, offering more effective, accessible, and patient-centered rehabilitation solutions. And I think the journey towards optimal recovery is becoming more precise and efficient than ever before, ensuring that individuals receive the best possible care in their rehabilitation process. Well, thank you so much, Vijay, for taking out the time and effort to be on a podcast today and helping us understand that AI and immersive technologies are definitely representing a revolutionary advancement in rehabilitation and the overall healthcare. They not only transform the patient experience but make rehabilitation more effective, enjoyable, more inclusive, and connected, and ensuring us that we are at a stage where we are exploring more creative and innovative approaches to make rehabilitation and physiotherapy a more inclusive approach, I would say. So thank you so much for your insights. It was lovely chatting with you, Vijay.
Thank you, Priya, once again for the opportunity. And thank you so much for the time taken to listen to what I have to say. And once again, thanks a bunch for the Analytics Insight podcast listeners also. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Vijay. So, this is for our listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion around digital therapeutics and how immersive technologies and definitely AI are transforming the entire landscape of rehabilitation. Nevertheless, you can stay tuned for our upcoming podcast, and you can view all our previous podcasts on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.